Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the rulers of Persia, from Diocles to Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. I am Sariel, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, my pronouns are he, him. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 103, Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik, where we will cover what happens after the disappointment that was Yazid II.
Oh my god.
And will things improve? Will they get worse? Who knows? Cyril, do you expect a broad improvement or worsening of the situation?
Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know. I always hope for improvement, but I don't... Surprise me.
I mean, given that Yazid's main policy was like, it's fine, nobody look into it, it's fine.
Yep.
Then hopefully there is going to be fixes, or everything's going to come crashing down. We'll see what happens there. So yes, first of all, as a summary of Yazid II's reign, he was mostly a party guy, didn't really do much for the empire, went back on Umar's reforming policies, and then wasn't really that helpful to the empire in general, and just basically kept the seat warm for a while. And then he passed the caliphate to his brother Hisham, with the promise that later on his son al-Walid II would succeed him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Hisham himself was born in 691 as the son of Abd al-Malik. He was one of the younger sons of the caliph, and was born when his father had mostly come into control of the caliphate and was mopping up the remaining Zubayrid forces. In particular, we're told that Abd al-Malik was informed of the birth of Hisham when he had finally taken Iraq from Musab ibn al-Zubayr. So it's at the tail end of the second fitna. Things are still a little bit chaotic, but it's becoming more and more clear that the Umayyads are going to win and take the caliphate. Some earlier sources say that he was born in Medina, which would be surprising with the whole civil war, but other later sources say that he was instead born in Damascus, which was the safe capital of the Umayyad Caliphate, which sounds a bit more likely in general. Then, from his youth, we hear that Hisham led the pilgrimage to Mecca one year, and also led a raid against Roman lands when he was 15, as all teenagers do.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, after that, we hear that Hisham grew up as a typical Umayyad prince and was preceded in the caliphate by his brothers al-Walid, Suleiman, and Yazid II.
Yeah, we've been covering that. Wait, so did people go to Roman territory, you said, right?
Yeah, he went on a Roman raid, essentially.
Was that like a rite of passage thing, or like what?
It's kind of a rite of passage thing. It's like, you know how cats give kittens half-dead baby birds to practice hunting? Yeah, that's basically it.
You can go like raid the Romans just so like you know how a raid is like, you know, supposed to go and stuff.
Yeah. And also it sort of counts as a pilgrimage, which is always nice, you know.
Of course, yeah.
You need to do the Hajj once in your life, but he led it one year, and then this other year he did this as well, so he has all the credentials he needs. Yeah. It's not really anything important, it's mostly just putting in your CV that you have done it and you have the skill and carry on.
Like at the very least, you should have done that, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not, you know, leading the expedition or marching to the walls of Constantinople. He is just raiding some farms, taking some captives from cities, and that's the main bit. Yeah. But the thing is that a notable interruption in the succession of brothers was Umar, as we saw 2 episodes ago.
Indeed. But then we went back.
Yes, the thing is that during the succession of Umar, we hear of Hisham's displeasure. Because you remember they did the whole trick of, I promise to follow the person written in this document, and then it was like, surprise, it's someone else.
Yeah,
well,
true.
Hisham apparently is prominently listed as one of those opposing the succession, even after everybody had given their allegiance. But when Hisham threatened to revoke his oath and fight against the new caliph, he was threatened with losing his head, so he said,
said maybe
fine,
not.
I guess this is okay.
I am a fan of my head.
Yeah, and again, we have the suspicion, as we had with Yazid, that since Umar was murdered or poisoned,
yes,
Hisham was one of the people who had a lot to gain from that.
Mm-hmm.
Was he in on it? We don't know, but he was in his late 20s, early 30s. Maybe he had an intention.
Maybe. Mm.
But yeah, eventually, at last, Yazid II appointed him as heir, and Hisham succeeded to the caliphate on the 26th of January, 724.
Yeah.
We get to see that Hisham's reign is an unstable one, because all the world is slightly chaotic.
Sorry.
And things, yes, and things need to be dealt with. Because, Serial, at roughly the same time, this is convenient for us because we're roughly in parallel with our Patreon.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
So we're here during the early Tang dynasty, and they're dealing a lot with Turkic nomads.
Yes.
As we've covered in the Patreon. But this means that the nomads need somewhere to go, and somewhere to go is the caliphate.
I see. So they're sending them our way.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a great Turkic invasion from the steppe into the caliphate across the areas of Iran. Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, among these invaders was the grandson of Yazdegerd III, a man called Khosrow, who offered to intercede on the locals' behalf against the Turks if they made him king.
Mm-hmm.
But the Turks said, we don't really need you, but thanks for the offer.
Yeah, thanks. We don't need you to become king, actually, because we got this. Good try, though.
And well, as soon as Hisham becomes caliph, everything is on fire because the conflict was extremely risky and there were many defeats, with only Samarkand under caliphal control beyond the Amur Darya, which is the old Oxus, the old border between the steppe and Naut. Hisham then appointed a new governor to try and deal with the situation, but there wasn't much hope since it was said that this governor only got the position by giving the caliph's wife an especially valuable necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Although, again, he was the leader of the Yamani faction, so it might just be slander from the opposite Qaisi side, but who knows. And yeah, under this governor, there was much fighting in an attempt to relieve Samarkand, but it was ultimately unsuccessful and the governor just died in office.
Okay. Well.
Things were so bad at this point that almost all lands beyond the Amur Darya remaining rose up in rebellion, risking the whole region falling out of control of the caliphate.
Oof.
So, everything's on fire.
Yep, indeed.
But finally, the Turkic counteroffensive stopped in 737, which I'm just saying here for consistency, but this has been, 15 years later.
Yep.
When, together with some local allies, the new governor that Hisham had appointed managed to defeat the Kagan in a small battle, which it was a small battle and it wasn't important. But the main advantage was that this destroyed the Kagan's reputation of invincibility, and he was murdered shortly after.
Oh, I see.
And being a steppe empire, it quickly fell to hell. And so it was just gone, and the threat was removed.
Mm-hmm.
Hisham then appointed one last governor who managed to mop up the situation and bring the caliphate back to the Sirdarya River, which finally allowed some peace to the region, but we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
At the same time, while we're having nomads invading Iran, there were nomads invading the Caucasus.
Oh, of course. Because everything at once.
Yes, because the Khazars were invading Armenia and Azerbaijan and trying to take it from the caliphate, or at least take plunder.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah, do you know anything about the Khazars? Because there's one interesting feature. There's one main interesting feature about them.
No, I don't.
Well, the Khazars were this nomadic empire that was in contact with the Romans through the Black Sea and with the Caliphate through the Caucasus.
Mm-hmm.
So what religion do you think they were?
They were in contact with the Romans and with
the Caliphate.
The Roman Empire is Christian now, right?
Yes, they are.
Are they also Christian? I don't know. Are they a random... I don't know. What is their religion?
Well, the thing is that they were originally pagans.
Yes.
So they were worshipping Tengri, probably, which is this sky god of the steppe.
Yes.
But the thing is that the settled empires don't respect them for being pagan.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, you're just barbarians, aren't you? So the Khazars have this decision to make and say, okay, well, if we're going to have one of the settled religions, they'll respect us, right?
Yeah, sure. Surely that's the reason.
But if they choose to be Christian, then they're going to be sort of under the Romans.
Yes.
if they choose to be Muslim, they're going to be sort of under the caliphate. So they decide for a third option. There is no great Jewish empire. I suppose we could be that. So let's convert to Judaism.
think that might be a problem. Judging by how that usually goes. I gotta say,
yes.
A choice.
But, yeah, the Khazars decide, you know what, let's be Jewish now.
God.
We're just gonna be a Jewish steppe nomads, which is a great vibe, and also probably a good bad name. But
oh my god.
they're just there. They're just having a chill time, and that's how they're maintaining their political independence between Rome and the caliphate.
Because I thought about it, but I was like, there's no way. Because there's no way. Yeah.
Yeah. The only other Jewish state I think at the moment is in Ethiopia. So they're just chilling.
Wild.
But yeah, but regardless of what their religion was, these Khazars were driven back from the Caucasus by Hisham's brother Maslama, who you may remember as the one who led the attack on Constantinople. And while being very capable, he was only the son of a concubine, so that's why he was never in succession games. According to a local chronicle, Maslama, and I quote, shed their blood like water on the face of the earth, and filled the birds of the sky and the beasts of the steppe with their flesh.
Woof. That's rough.
But that's not all. He decides to make a punitive expedition, because he crosses the Caucasus and went all the way to the mouth of the Volga in the north of the Caspian Sea. And they didn't really make any long-term conquests, but it was meant to show them, no, stay down.
Yeah.
We can hunt you back to where you live.
Yeah.
Although we do get some more good anecdotes from Maslama, because upon accepting the surrender of a city that had resisted him, he promised not to kill a single man or dog.
Okay. So did he kill all men and dogs?
He killed all men and dogs, except one each.
I see, yeah.
So, technically correct.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Fine. Yeah. That's classic. But the legend of Maslama persevered, as his sword was hung in the mihrab of the mosque in Derbent in the Caucasus, and pilgrims could only visit it while wearing white, the color of Umayyad banners, or else they would face a deadly wind and rain. So Maslama's doing a great job. Yeah, he didn't conquer Constantinople, but that was Umar asking him to go home, and, well, now he's definitely known as this great warrior and really important for the caliphate. On the Roman front, things were relatively relaxed, as there were yearly border raids into Anatolia, one of which even reached Nicaea at one point, just over there on the western coast. But as I mentioned, these are mostly routine expeditions. It's just practice.
It's not even
anything that you're not trying to conquer. It's just raids.
Rome has really seen better days.
But they're getting back on their feet, because there was one larger expedition towards the end of Hisham's reign that resulted in complete defeat at the hands of the Roman Emperor Leo, who had also defended Constantinople from the siege.
No, just let them die. Let Rome fall.
It's going to take a while more, Sarah.
No.
But worst of all, it looks like the Romans started their own raids into Syria by sea, since they had naval superiority over the caliphate, so they could just send pirates round to kidnap people from the caliphate. And things were so critical to Syria that Hisham doubled the raids into Roman territory and even had to go to the staging ground himself, brandishing a sword to encourage his men to battle.
I see. People don't want to battle anymore? Or what are we doing?
Yeah. The Romans are getting bit back up on their feet, and Hisham is having to say, no, but seriously, raid them harder.
Seriously, stay down.
We can't let them get back up.
Yeah.
And last and most distant, Cyril, you may have heard of this, because the viceroys of Hispania had been expanding into southern Gaul for a while. But they suffered a couple small defeats. One near Toulouse, and another one in two different places. Or rather, in the same place, but called with two different names. In the English world, you may have heard this as the Battle of Tours, while in the rest of the world, you may have heard it as the Battle of Poitiers.
Okay.
The English call it the Battle of Tours because there's a Battle of Poitiers during the 100 Years' War that they're more keen to remember. So there we are.
Damn.
But essentially, this is greatly amplified in the Western imagination. Because in general, this is shown as Charles Martel, the grandfather of Charlemagne, defeating the Muslim forces and sending them back. So again, this is very much like the image of the Battle of Covadonga that we discussed a couple episodes ago, where it's just a small, plucky force of Franks defeating the numberless Muslim hordes who are trying to conquer Europe. While basically, it was a raid, you know?
Yeah, like it wasn't supposed... Yeah.
Good job, but also it wasn't
the whole
caliphate's might trying to break you down, as we've seen before.
I see.
Although it must be said in their favor that these defeats and a revolt to come, which will be more significant, stop the yearly raids that came from al-Andalus. So this is essentially the high water mark. So this is as far as the raids will reach. It's roughly Aquitaine getting close to Brittany. That's as far as they managed to range. Yeah. But then things are going to contract from now on.
I see.
Finally, the last front that we have is India, where it would have promised plenty of riches, but unfortunately for Hisham, they would be very difficult to gain because there wasn't one large kingdom in India to defeat. Yeah. But there was a series of small regional powers that were distant from the heart of the caliphate.
And then you have to constantly continue.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And they're also quite warlike people, so they knew how to fight.
Yeah,
so
they will fight you back.
It's not just like an easy thing. It's just, that's annoying. And there were many expeditions that were sent there from the local governors, but there was very little progress, and they were quite costly. So the idea was, you know what, that's it. We don't really need to do this.
Yeah, not worth it.
But okay, so the outside of the caliphate is chaotic, and everybody's invading us on different fronts.
I'm sure the inside is fine.
The empire's stopping. I'm sure the inside is fine. Yes,
I'm
very
sure
good.
Nobody's discussing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, all was not well, because, especially in the east in Khorasan, there were social tensions that had grown to a fever pitch while this Turkic campaigns were going on. Because, as we've seen, these new converts to Islam, they're not being treated equally, so, well, what the hell? What are we doing? Why are we even in this caliphate?
Yeah.
They're losing wars externally, and they're not treating us equally, so what the hell? This exploded in 734 when a man called al-Harith, accused of being a Kharajite, but that's a common trope for historians attributing to rebels, where he led 4,000 men to capture a local city and he defeated the local governor.
I see.
After this victory, he was joined by many local border lords who had maintained a lot of independence and now wanted to be fully autonomous.
Yeah.
However, the governor managed to then gather more Syrian forces and persuade many Arab settlers with payment to join his fight. And with this force, he managed to defeat the rebels and make many of the lords reconsider their decision. So he managed to defeat them, but only barely. Only because we're in the moment when the Turks are sort of fading
and
away.
The instability is there. Like not the instability, but what is it called? When you're not happy with the situation, you know?
Yeah, the discontent.
Yes, the discontent is there. Clearly.
And yeah, things were still so unstable that the governor of Khorasan asked Hisham to combine Khorasan and Iraq into one single province to allow for more easy transfer of soldiers and resources, because please, we need more soldiers. Oh god, the blood. Hisham agreed and said, yep, fair enough, we do need to make changes. And so the rebels were slowly beaten back until their leader, al-Harith, was forced to seek refuge among the Turks and became a counselor for them.
I see.
But yeah, in general, all this, together with the Turkic War, was a very difficult period for the Caliphate, with an anecdote saying that Hisham was unable to believe whenever he received news of a victory. It was no. Are you sure we won this? This doesn't sound right.
Oh no.
We don't win battles.
That's a problem.
Like, oh my god, yeah. And then he was especially incredulous and just thanked God multiple times when he received news of the battle where the Turkic Khagan was defeated and the Turks were just gone. It was like, oh my goodness, wow. This is incredible. Thank you, God.
Must be my birthday. Everything's going great. Not by anything that I did, but you know.
But okay, so with a moment of peace, how does Hisham try to govern the empire? How does he try to reform things? Does he try to fix things? Or is he saying, no, this is fine while everything's on fire?
Yeah, do we have a moment of peace? Because doesn't sound
You
like
have
it.
some sort of moment of peace. Not a full moment of peace, but it's basically a moment where
You couldn't do
war is
bureaucracy
far
at
enough
some
away.
point. Yeah.
Yes. We need a bureaucratic system at some... He had days where he didn't have to think about tragedy.
Okay, that's nice.
So he appointed governors in Iraq, which developed the agriculture and ensured that there was a constant supply of pure water
Nice.
through a mix of free and forced labor.
Mm-hmm.
Then in Khorasan, his last governor implemented a wise taxation policy that pacified the region, which, if you remember, it's mostly a patchwork of different local princes and mainly kept under control by underrepresented Iranians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This new policy saw all Muslims treated equally, while non-Muslims retained their inferior status. So they're learning something from Umar's reforms. They're saying, yep, this is all right, I guess.
I guess.
At the same time, the governor also accepted to welcome back the merchants in the regions that had abandoned Islam out of fear of the Turks, even though the official punishment for apostasy is death.
Yeah.
This was a punishment that was established back during Abu Bakr's reign at the very first caliph.
Yeah.
Because, well, Arabia had exploded and he needed to keep it together.
Yeah.
But now this governor is saying, well, if we kill everybody who switch sides, we won't have anybody left. So let's
too many people.
not do
Let's
that.
just be, yeah.
That's a bad time. In general, it's a bit difficult to tell what Hisham's personal role was in this, since the sources mainly discuss the governors that he appointed, but he had some broad policies he seemed to follow.
Mm-hmm.
His main policy when running the empire seems to have been to defend and consolidate the caliphate.
Yeah, because if everything is on fire, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, you can't think about expanding at this point. You need to just hold everything that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And he also tried to make sure to develop as many regions as possible and keep the borders safe. But the problem here is that the caliphate had grown with the image of being a universal Muslim empire. But certainly after Abd al-Malik, it had become more and more just an Arab empire, which didn't treat all Muslims equally. And as we saw, this led and will lead to serious problems.
Yeah.
And well, to govern the empire, it looks like Hisham tried to balance the Yamani and Qaisi interests by making sure that different tribal groups had their time in government.
Mm-hmm.
So in particular, it looks like he had a bit of a geographic distribution, with Qaisis in the west of the empire and Yamani in the east. In general, he was known as a strict administrator, spending as little as possible and trying to make sure that all the books were in order.
Right.
So he's trying his best to hold the empire together. He's saying, you know what, yes, I could spend all my time partying and messing about like Yazid II did, but then the empire is going to fall.
Yeah.
So I need to really lock in and do this properly.
Yes. He cares a little bit more.
Yeah. And, well, he's especially known for his penchant of building projects such as castles, palaces, and towns in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
He also ensured the proper function of infrastructure across the caliphate, such as water cisterns, roads, and mosques.
Mm-hmm.
And one nice thing about Hisham that is close to our heart is his interest in the historical and administrative traditions of the Sassanid Empire.
Oh, nice.
Which he received mostly filtered after the reforms of Khosrow I.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting structure that reached its full development during Hisham's caliphate is the institution of a two-headed administration, with the army of a province being controlled by one senior governor and the financial aspect handled by a junior governor. So it's basically saying you don't have all the power.
Yeah. We're splitting it up just to make sure.
Yeah, one person's in charge of money, one person's in charge of the army. If they work together, that's helpful. But if one of them tries to rebel, well, they won't have the resources to properly rise up against me. However, due to the military aspect being more prestigious, Arabs tended to be the military leaders, while the administrators tended to be locals from the region who had converted to Islam.
I see.
So there is this two sides of the coin. On the topic of governorship, one change that Hisham enforced here was the extension of governor terms, which used to be only a couple years, but now were extended as long as possible, with governors often promoted to a higher level in the administration after many years of service.
I don't love that, but okay.
Again, this was removed earlier on.
Yeah.
You'll remember that during al-Walid's reign, they tried to cut down on this because the governors were far too independent.
Yeah.
But Hisham is saying, we are in a period of crisis. We can't just
Yeah.
keep changing people.
Yeah.
Like, if every
Oh, I
year
see,
you
I
have
see,
to have
I
the guy
see,
learn the
yeah.
job and figure
I
out,
understand,
who are the Turks, what is going on,
So
that'll be a mess.
they'll
But if you
run
have
the
a guy
risk
who has
of them,
experience,
like, accumulate more power, but hopefully it'll mean they're a bit more competent on holding everything together.
yeah, exactly.
I see.
So hopefully this will work out, and well, if they're competent, great. If they're incompetent, they'll be replaced. But
Yeah.
if it's a competent governor that's doing a good job,
Yeah.
then replacing them is too much of a faff.
Yes. I understand.
As you can imagine, this slightly annoyed many of the minor nobles who were trying to get into these
Yeah.
positions, but Hisham honestly thought that it was better to go like this. Yeah, in general, we see that governors who became too powerful or ambitious were still fired or deprived of their position.
Mm-hmm.
And in one case, Hisham's half-brother Maslama, who we heard of during the siege
Yes.
of Constantinople and the invasion of the Caucasus, he was made governor of Iraq,
Yeah.
but he was replaced soon after for neglecting to send the required tax money to the caliph.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So even if he is the brother of the caliph, he can't really get away with this sort of
Yeah,
thing,
he'll also
and
be
we need to
replaced.
handle
I see.
it. Yeah.
Nice.
This also resulted in a policy of Hisham trying to keep Umayyad princes away from positions of significant power and just gave them pensions to be docile and
Yeah.
rest,
Just
to do something else.
Shush.
So we can't afford to have your cousins, brothers, sisters, father-in-law
Yeah.
be governor just because you owe the family a favor.
Yeah.
We need someone actually competent.
Yep.
Everyone else can just have a pension and live comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
It is also under Hisham's reign that the full Arabization of the Caliphate's administration that had started under al-Walid is complete in all corners of the empire. So you remember that we used to have in the early Caliphate that everybody used Persian or Greek or different local languages for the administration. Well, now it's by Hisham's reign has filtered through, and everybody now uses Arabic for the administration of the Caliphate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, overall, it looks like Hisham tried to consolidate the power of his empire, and that may be what caused some unrest in the provinces as a tighter grip was being achieved over distant and often self-reliant administrations. So again, al-Andalus is doing whatever they like and just invading countries for no reason.
Yes.
Well, Hisham is trying to say, no, we need those resources.
Stop
Don't
that.
waste them.
Yeah.
Don't do this. It's fine. But this in turn coincided with an increasing stress on the Syrian Arabs, who were the only ones trusted enough by the Caliphate to be the core of any significant expeditions, but there were so few of them that they struggled to actually control everything. Because you remember, a thing that a lot of people complained about was that these Syrian Arabs are the ones in charge while everybody else is their subject.
Yeah.
Well, now that's starting to show its limitations.
Mm-hmm.
The only case where this was the exception was in extreme situations like Khorasan, where the Turks are invading and there's rebellions all around,
Yeah.
where the local population was allowed to be properly integrated into the army. But even there was an inequality that just was festering overall.
Yeah.
But the main internal event of Hisham's reign hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Because it is the Great Amazigh Revolt.
Okay. Sounds concerning.
Do you know who the Amazigh people are, Serial?
No, I don't.
Well, they are the native people of North Africa. Northwestern Africa, mostly, of the Maghreb. And essentially, they had powerfully resisted the Caliphate's incursions at the start, but then eventually they had been incorporated. And, there was an Amazigh man who first invaded al-Andalus and started that invasion.
I see.
But now they are really struggling against this inequality. Also, incidentally, if you are interested in the Amazigh people, we are going to have a mini-series voted on for this. The voting is probably ongoing, where we have this rise, fighting against the Caliphate, collaboration with the Caliphate, and the rebellion against the Caliphate. If you're interested, that's the vibe.
And Patreon, right?
Yes, on Patreon.
Yeah.
But the thing is that in North Africa, the local governor had been harshly exploiting the Amazigh population by increasing taxes even on Muslims and treating them as second-class citizens in division of labor and rewards. According to al-Tabari, they sent a delegation to Hisham with their complaints, but he refused to even receive them.
Oof. Yeah.
Saying, I'll talk with my governor, you're just some random provincials, you're not even Arabs, I do not care.
Yeah.
Which resulted, of course, in the Great Amazigh Revolt of 740, which began with a great defeat for the Arab garrison force in Tangier during what was called as the Battle of the Nobles, due to the amount of Arab nobles that died there.
Oh, okay.
So, really big defeat.
Yes.
And also, this is the bit of land that connects us to al-Andalus. This is going to be problematic if we lose it.
Yes, true.
So Hisham actually reacts proportionally to this. He personally oversaw the assembly of a great army and used about 1/10 of the caliphate's resources for this to ensure that, no, we need to take this back. We need to stabilize the region.
Yeah, this is important.
But this expeditionary force was so large that there was internal conflicts in it because the Arabs of Syria and the Arabs of Africa distrusted each other.
Yeah.
And the Syrians thought the African Arabs were incompetent, and the African Arabs thought the Syrians were arrogant.
Yeah.
So with all this premise, the army was sent over, and Hisham soon received news that the army had been defeated, its commander killed, and the few remaining soldiers had fled into al-Andalus.
Yeah. Damn. This is bad.
Yeah, it's harsh. And it's at this point that most of Western North Africa was fully in revolt under Amazigh leaders who aligned themselves with the Kharijites in opposition to the caliphate.
Okay.
There is a man who will be the topic of our Patreon who declares himself the Amazigh Caliph in opposition to Hisham.
Great. Everything's going great. Love everything that's happening.
Also, they're becoming Kharijites, which, if you remember, the Kharijites are these typical rebels who had rebelled against the Umayyads and Ali back during the first fitna. Now they're back. There were also Kharijite rebels in Iraq who managed to convince soldiers directed to India to join them in exchange for being able to stay close to home because the caliphate is too large and wide. This revolt was suppressed relatively quickly, but it was concerning that, you know, they weren't just in the provinces, but they were next to the caliph.
Yeah.
So that's something that needs to be dealt with. Hisham then tried to send more generals to suppress the Amazigh revolt, but only managed to get as far as modern Algeria, with Morocco being basically fully independent. And this loss of control extended to al-Andalus as well, which lost its connection to the rest of the caliphate, and its governors became mostly independent as they had to deal with the social problems that arose with their own Amazigh population, who saw this rebellion as the chance to gain control of the more fertile lands of al-Andalus that the Arabs had taken for themselves. Now, ultimately, this rebellion would be crushed by the local Arab forces, but there is this serious instability in al-Andalus, which is now basically floating on its own, separate from the whole caliphate. Hisham managed to send over the governor of Egypt with a massive force who managed to inflict a serious defeat on the rebels, but this only partially regained control of the region, making only the east of the Maghreb return to the caliphate. So everything is on fire.
Yep.
And for the first time in the history of the caliphate, we are losing bits.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the core, it's not Egypt, it's not Iraq, it's not Iran, but it is still concerning.
Ooh. All right. Having a great time.
But how is Hisham himself doing? Who is he? What is his vibe?
Yeah. As a person, you know?
Yeah. Well, generally, he is praised as being a judicious man without many of the vices of his predecessors, such as drinking wine.
Oh no, not drinking wine.
But at most, he's accused of being stingy and avaricious, maybe just because, unlike Yazid II, he didn't lavishly sponsor the poets that transmitted the histories, and they just resented him for it.
Yeah, maybe.
So he is saying, everything is on fire, I really need to save money for surviving.
To be fair, everything
and everybody's
is
saying,
on fire.
Oh, well, damn.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So he is reasonable there. Although there may be some truth to just this being especially avaricious, because in one tale, he asked the governor of Iraq to withhold grain from going to market until all the caliph's grain had been sold so he could get a higher price for it.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he also took care to personally not spend money, so he's not getting a better price and blowing it on parties. He's
Yeah.
quite parsimonious, because there's one story of a man visiting Hisham and noticing that he wore the same tunic as before he became caliph.
Yeah.
And when he asked Hisham about this, he said that it certainly was the same tunic, and he was just saving money for the common good. He didn't need a new one.
Okay. Well, that's good that he's not like, you save for me and I do whatever. Which is...
Yeah, he's practicing what he preaches.
Yeah.
The problem is that despite him practicing what he preaches, it looks like the rest of the family didn't really follow his example.
Yeah, because, where would they?
Yeah. His heir al-Walid II, who was son of Yazid II, continued to live lavishly and was on bad terms with his uncle, and really followed in his father Yazid's footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
While his main wife was known for drinking wine with a huge cup and was the author of wine-drinking poetry.
Oh.
So, yes, he's trying to put out an image, but his family isn't really cooperating there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
Speaking of all this, there's a really fun anecdote about a man who had singing girls, wine, and a guitar in his home. And Hisham found it, was like, no, you must be punished for this.
Oh.
How dare. Hisham then said, break the lute over his head. And when the man started crying, he was being consoled by a counselor for the punishment, saying, I'm sorry, but it won't be that bad. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the man simply said, No, I'm not crying for the punishment. I'm just crying because Hisham called the guitar a lute.
Yeah. So fair.
So, yeah, the man liked his instruments. Yeah. How dare.
Actually.
And, yeah, in general, we also get anecdotes about Hisham's sense of justice, where in one case he was unhappy because a Christian had hit one of his servants, but the only real recourse was to go to court and just have a trial.
Mm-hmm.
But then a eunuch of his took initiative and beat this Christian for the caliph.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And yeah, when Hisham heard of this, he had the eunuch beaten himself after saying that he hadn't given any order to beat the Christian, and he just wanted to go through the proper legal channels.
Yeah. Even if that would have been the outcome, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, that may have been the outcome, but we need to at least follow the procedures.
Yeah.
Also, just as a general note of color, Hisham was very fond of horses and their proper breeding, and had stables larger than any that had been seen before.
Nice. He was a horse boy.
But Ariel, chaos reigns. It's still there.
Yep.
Because Hisham was not free of rebellions, because in 740, just as the Amazigh revolt was starting up, a man called Zayd bin Ali, the great-grandson of the Caliph Ali, rebelled against the Umayyad hegemony, saying, you know what, I'm going to take the caliphate. It's time for the Alids to come back and to defeat the Umayyads and remove them.
Sure.
Because, hey, he's descended from the Prophet.
Yeah.
So who's more legitimate?
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Oof.
And yeah, in general, since we last saw them before the second fitna, the Alids had been struggling for internal dominance between different branches of the family over who should be the imam.
Mm-hmm.
And to oversimplify for these people, the imam is basically a parallel caliphate for Shias.
Mm-hmm.
So
I see.
They're doing this thing that some modern royal families do, like the current French royal family, where they're arguing seriously over who would be the caliph if they actually had the caliphate, even though they actually don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting that Zayd appealed to the Sunnis in the empire by saying that the first two caliphs had been legally elected. So Abu Bakr and Umar. Something for which he will later be accused of being too Sunni and abandoned by more hardline Shias, because the typical Shia opinion is that Ali was meant to be the first caliph, everybody else was illegitimate.
Yeah.
While Zayd is here in the middle saying, well, the first two were pretty good, then Uthman kind of messed up, and Ali wasn't meant to be fourth, but yeah. And then all of the Umayyads are, of course, unconstitutional and illegal. But yeah, so Zayd gathered support in Kufa, which still had fond memories of when it had been the capital under Ali, and he married the daughters of prominent members of both the Yamani and Qaisi factions of the city. With Iraq and Kufa being ready for revolt, because since the days of al-Hajjaj, they had been treated as lesser than the Syrians, while being forced to commit to the military service that kept the Iranian borders together and expanding.
Yeah.
So they're saying, well, we get shipped off to fight in India, and the Syrians get to stay here in our home?
Yeah.
What? Why? Why is this a thing?
Yeah.
And so Zayd promised to rule with justice, recall the Iraqi fighters off on campaign, and distribute pensions to all those entitled to them.
Yeah. Sounds good.
The rebels gathered a few hundred or 1,000 men in Kufa, but were set upon by the local police forces. In the end, many of his Kufan supporters abandoned him, and Zayd was killed by an arrow in the eye.
Oof.
Which is a harsh way to
Yeah,
go.
that'll do it. I mean, hopefully a fast way to go.
You would assume, yeah, that's fair
Depending
enough.
of where that arrow goes once it enters, but...
Yeah. I mean, you do hear of some people who get an arrow in the eye and recover.
Yeah,
but,
which I guess, because your brain is slightly higher up. So, like, if
Yeah,
it comes from above, it goes more into, like,
yeah,
your
it could be. Maybe
nose.
it's a distant arrow and it lost a lot of its energy, so it's just.
But
not
still, in
penetrating
the
deep enough,
eye.
but-
Oh, my God.
In the eye, bad times.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, though initially Zayd was buried, Hisham's forces dug him up, crucified him, and
Oh,
had his
no.
head sent to Damascus and Egypt.
Well, I mean, I guess at least he's dead, so...
Yeah. The crucified body would remain exposed in public in Kufa for the next 5 years until it was eventually burned and his ashes scattered to the wind.
Okay.
And all this attempt to overthrow the caliphate lasted a couple of days.
Yep, okay. Oof.
But all was not lost for the cause, because there is a branch of Shi'ism called Zaydism, which was formed, and Zayd's son fled to Khorasan, where he remained in hiding for the rest of Hisham's life. So there are different Shia branches recognized in different lists of imams, and so Zaydi one does recognize Zayd as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, despite not reaching Damascus or being very successful, this was a serious blow against the legitimacy of the caliphate.
Yeah.
Because the last caliph to kill an Alid was Yazid I with Hussein, and that had caused the second fitna and almost lost the caliphate. So now with the caliphate being torn apart in different directions, having killed a descendant of the prophet meant that there would be serious questions to Umayyad legitimacy. At the same time, Zayd had made some genuine points and pointed out many of the real social issues that had faced the caliphate that Umar II had tried to fix, but was ultimately unsuccessful. But okay, so with all this chaos, Hisham starts to think, okay, what happens when I'm gone?
Yeah. Actually, things are going places, and we should figure this out.
Yeah, things are dangerous, and he checks who is his heir.
Mm-hmm. Who did I put in my list? Wait, let me put it up.
Yeah, he sees that was appointed by Yazid II. He is meant to give the throne to al-Walid II. Al-Walid is a teenager, or in his early 20s, and is most fond of drinking and spending time with pretty girls. He has no experience in any sort of government.
Yeah, this doesn't sound great.
Yeah, Hisham thinks, I've barely held this together by trying really hard. If he succeeds,
There's no
everything is going to hell.
Yeah.
It's gone. So he was going to try several things. So he tried, first of all, to make his eldest son Muawiyah heir, but then his heir died. So that's gone. Then he tried with a younger son, Maslama, and he tried to get al-Walid to renounce his succession and said, come on, al-Walid, you don't want this. You don't want to be caliph. Just give it up. Just let someone more capable be in charge.
Yeah.
My son can do this. He is trained. He knows what to do. Just give it up.
Mm-hmm.
All that this resulted in was al-Walid really resenting Hisham, his uncle.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know what? As soon as I become caliph, I'm going to reverse all your policies if you don't want me to be caliph.
But if you don't become caliph... Anyway. Sure.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. It's bad times. And yeah, in general, al-Walid is planned to be his heir. And Hisham says, all right, maybe afterwards my son Maslama can succeed, but I don't trust al-Walid to make things last that long. But all right, I suppose.
I suppose we can put it on paper and, pray.
Yeah, give it a go and hope that it all works fine.
Yep.
And yeah, and the empire's situation after multiple rebellions and defeats also showed that its constant expansion was no longer tenable because we have new enemies now. There is a difficulty finding new soldiers. We're having trouble paying for all these people. And there are so many social issues that we haven't dealt with that it's just on fire.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Damn.
Yeah. In the end, Hisham died of a heart attack.
I'm not surprised.
As you would after
I'm not
all
surprised.
this.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh no.
Died of a heart attack at the age of 52.
Oof.
On the 6th of February, 743, although Al-Tabari says it may have been diphtheria. Who knows? And this way, Hisham was the last son of Abd al-Malik, and thus inaugurated a new generation of Umayyad caliphs. Though the problem here is that since all the brothers were equal in succession, all the brothers have become caliphs, that means that there's a bunch of cousins that all have equal rights to the succession.
No, this is terrible. This is terrible.
May or may not be.
This is the worst that we could be. Oh my god.
See, this is why the brother system kind of works for a while, but then when you skip a generation, it's like, oh no, oh dear, this is a bad time.
That's really bad, yeah.
Yeah. In later years, Hisham's tomb would be opened up, and he will appear perfectly preserved, apart from a part of his nose that was falling off.
Interesting. I guess there was very good vacuum in there or something.
Yeah. There wasn't good enough conditions for long, because...
Yeah, because you opened it.
Because you opened it, and the body was eventually whipped savagely and burned.
Oh my gosh.
But we'll find out why or who did this in a few
Interesting.
episodes.
Okay. You're just gonna leave me there. Alright.
Yep, we'll find out. Because momentous events are about to happen, as you can imagine, because everything is, there's a latent succession crisis, invasions, rebellions, social problems. Everything is about to kick off. So Ariel, what did you think about Hisham? What is his vibe for you?
I mean, he's trying. Like, I can't blame him. Everything is terrible, and he's trying his best. And his best is just not enough.
Yeah, I feel like he's the sort of person where if a lesser person had been in charge, if Yazid had been
it would have been
all
immediately
this time, it would have just fallen. Yeah. That's it, gone. If you would have had a great reformer, or maybe, I don't know, again, we have this thing with Umar where we think, oh, well, because of his potential, I wonder what he could have achieved.
Yeah.
Which is why everybody calls him the one good Umayyad. So maybe if Umar had been able to complete his policies, the caliphate would have actually succeeded and would have reformed itself and become stronger than before.
Yeah.
But with Hisham and his skills and his policies, he is able to barely hold it together.
Yeah.
But we need to see what Al-Walid II will do. And I have to tell you, Serial, as a minor spoiler, I love Al-Walid II. And I'm really excited to talk to you about him.
I did not expect this. I was like, oh, it's going to be terrible and bad and whatever. The next episode will be short. And
you'll have to find out, but I'm really looking forward to talking to you about Al-Walid II.
Can you give me a time estimate just to just as like a bit of a sneak peek?
Time estimate isn't like how long the episode's going to be. How long the episode's going to be is...
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for your audience, so they can like plan accordingly.
Yeah, of course. It's going to be roughly, what can I compare it to? It's going to be about the size of the Abd al-Malik episode.
Wait, how much was that? I don't remember.
So it's about an hour and 15 minutes-ish is the expectation.
Of recording or a final?
Of final.
Okay. Interesting.
So you'll find out.
All right.
And maybe more if we discuss it more intensely, but we'll see how it goes.
Interesting. I'm excited.
But yes, that's next episode, so you don't even have to wait that long. You'll have to find out.
Yeah.
But, all right. So, Sarah, are you ready to rate Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik's life?
Let's do it.
Very well. Our first category is final moments. How interesting was his death? Dying of a heart attack after a life of stress.
Kind of comedically appropriate.
Yes, very comedically appropriate. I like it. It's funny. It's not, it's not as dramatic, but I feel like it's
but makes sense.
I'm thinking like a 2-3 points just for how appropriate it is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that is how you would die, isn't it?
Yes. I think a 3 would be fine.
3?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've given a 3. Who have we given a 3 to?
Exactly, so I'm giving it now.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, we gave it to Kavad II for like the poetic justice of being killed and losing all the succession. So I'll go for a 3 as well. So with a 3 and a 3, he gets a 3 out of 10 for final moments. Our next category is battle hardness. How good was he at war and fighting? So for battle hardness, we have bits. So personally, Hisham, we know that he went on a raid into Roman territory when he was 15. But again, that was practice. It was nothing too intense. It was there.
Just for fun.
Then we have so many wars. Like, we have the anecdote of Hisham just, like, reacting incredulously when it was announced that they actually won one this time. Yeah. I was like, what do you mean we won? That never happens to me. This is amazing.
Woof.
Because we have wars everywhere. So, let's go from east to west, just vibes. So in India, they have a bunch of expeditions. None of them are really successful. Mostly they're costly. Then in Khorasan, they have this invasion of the Turks that they have to fight off. They fight off for 15 years and then only finally manage to win one battle, and that's what saves them. And there was a bunch of rebellions all around. We've seen the rebellions that were there. All the Khorasanis are against him, and yes, the rebellion is put down, but ultimately it's not covered in glory. Then in Iraq, we have the rebellion of Zayd bin Ali. He is defeated, but it was a small force in a city. There wasn't really an army. I don't know if you want to count that. Then in the Caucasus, on the bright side, Maslama is doing a good job. Maslama manages to kick back the Khazars, invade into the steppe, show them a punitive expedition, and sort of stabilize the area. So that's good. That's positive on his end. Then in Roman territory, the invasions continue, but the Romans do have one pretty significant defeat, and they start piracy, which the caliphate is trying to stop, trying to reduce, but it is complicated. Then over in the west, we have the Great Amazigh Revolt. Hisham sends army after army, and they keep getting defeated terribly, and at the end, he only manages to convince the governor of Egypt to push far enough to reach, like, Tunisia-ish. And then that's safe, but the rest basically falls out of the empire, so that's big losses.
Yeah.
And then in al-Andalus, there's some minor defeats at Toulouse and Poitiers, but they are essentially the last of these invasions into Gaul, which is becoming France. Although all this perspective of how things are going on in the caliphate is helping you see how there were other things going on beside the Battle of Poitiers. Like, the caliphate wasn't going to expand anymore because everything was on fire. So that's why they're not invading. You know? No disrespect to Charles Martel, but still. So overall, as victories, the Caucasus is the main one, and not entirely losing Al-Andalus and the Maghreb, and sort of recovering a bit of Khorasan in the end are there, but it's not a glorious reign. How much would you like to rate? Actually, how many points do you want to put for the effort in trying to get this all to work?
I mean, it could have just immediately collapsed. So, like, I think we have to recognize the effort. On the other hand, it wasn't, like, extremely successful either.
No, I think that the Indian expeditions, the Roman expeditions, the Al-Andalus expeditions, those basically cancel out. It's just, it was a net zero, I'd say.
Also, it's not by his hand, most of it, which, like, doesn't mean, like,
he,
of course,
he only does one
always,
expedition as a young man.
Yeah, like, we always judge, like, it's also the entirety of the reign of this person, right? Like, obviously, otherwise we would only be doing a ranking of the generals or whoever. But there are some people who do go into battle and do strategize and do, like, you know, it is their decision. And to be honest, most of the time he's trying to stop people from going to war. Like,
he's mostly defending.
Yeah,
he's
like,
not really.
He's trying to stop, further
expeditions.
conquer, to stop, you know, like, to guard resources, to actually be like, no, guys, we need to stop and, like, reassess.
Yeah, so I think that the main things we want to look at are, I'd say, 1 point for the going on an expedition personally as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very influential, but it's
No,
just
he did it.
something
He did it. Yeah, sure.
And then I would say the main wins is against the Khazars. You managed to just kick them away, and that's brilliant.
Right.
I'd net that like a couple points. Then for Khorasan, I feel like it's a net 1 point because it doesn't fall out of the empire, but it is really a mess.
Yeah.
Like the Turks come in, and then everybody rebels, and then you fight them back. But slowly but surely, the Turks are defeated, and then you manage to retake that territory. So it's not gone, but it is very shaky.
Yeah.
And then I would say I don't know if to lose him any points for the Great Amazigh Revolt, where genuinely bits of the empire are gone. Like, it's not as far gone as it could have been, but we have lost it.
I think at least a point.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to stick with like a 3, where it's like he tried his best, but ultimately it didn't go as well.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Fair enough. So with a 3 and a 3, he gets a 6 out of 20 for battle hardness. Our next category is scheminess. How good was he at plots and manipulations? Well, for scheminess, the main one we have is that he may have tried to have Umar II murdered because of the succession.
Right.
Because he did threaten to withdraw his oath after he found out that Umar was going to succeed and was only threatened into silence.
Mm-hmm.
And Umar eventually died mysteriously.
Yep.
So that's an option. And in general, the only small extra thing I could say about scheminess is the fact that he tries to distract Umayyad princes from getting into politics by just giving them a pension and telling them to keep out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to consider that scheminess or just like part of government, but that's the vibe.
I didn't get super skibby vibes.
Yeah, exactly. In general, that's not really his way to act. He doesn't do much, and as a prince, he is just always fine. He doesn't really need to scheme his way to the throne. He just gets it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I'm going to match what we gave Yazid II and say 1 point for being maybe the murderer of Umar, but nothing much beyond that.
Yeah, I think I'll match you.
Okay. So with a 1 and a 1, he gets a 2 out of 20 for scheminess. Our next category is shock factor. How shocking was this man?
Himself? Like, not that much.
He was actually tried not to be shocking,
Yeah.
really. I mean, there's a few bits we can look at. So, again, going chronologically, we have he tried to withdraw his oath to Umar after he found out he'd been tricked.
Mm-hmm.
Is that more or less legitimate, going back on your oath, even if it was under false pretenses? Who knows? He then had this issue where he was being all ascetic and goody-goody, but his family wasn't. So that's a bit shocking and embarrassing to him, I guess. And then in general, I'd say for the shock factor, he is trying to save the caliphate, but he isn't going to go so far as to make real long-lasting reforms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's trying to keep the system as it is. And yes, he's helping a bit, but he isn't being as radical as Umar was, saying, I don't know, we need to like rebuild things because this is lost. So it's a complicated thing. And then we have a shock factor. He does end up killing and crucifying and burning a descendant of the Prophet, which is a bit of a no-no. Then besides that, in general, we also have a little bit the fact that he is rejecting the Amazigh claims. Like, they do send a petition before the Great Revolt starts up, and they say, hey, your governor's mistreating us. Could you do something about it? And he doesn't even want to see them. So that's not great. So in general, I don't think he is the most shocking man, but there is something to be shocked for.
I guess. Do we give 1 point per thing? Because, like...
What could we do? I'd say... Yeah, I would say, like, 1 for the oath.
Yeah.
1 just generally for the troubles with reform. 1 for killing Said. And, yeah, I honestly do 1 each. And then 1 for the Amazigh refusal to even listen to them. Like, yes, he was busy, but also
4 points.
I think 4
total?
points sounds fair. Do you think he deserves a bit more or less?
It feels like too much, honestly, for the vibe that I got from
Yeah.
listening. I was like, I wasn't super
If you want to give him a
shocked.
3 or lower, that's fine. I would say a 4 is reasonable on my end.
If you
Like,
go with a
it's
4, I'll go with a 3.
there.
That way we like sort of, even it
Fair
out.
enough. Okay, so with a 4 and a 3, he gets a 7 out of 20 for shock factor.
Sure.
Our next category is Aaron Shine. How good was he for the Empire General and Iran in particular? Difficult.
Yeah. I mean, he was good. It's just everything else was bad.
Yeah, because he tried. Like, he tried his best.
And he didn't make it worse, which is good.
But if you look at the Empire before and after, it is smaller, it is more in crisis, areas have been devastated, it's objectively doing worse. Now, do I think that someone else would have done a worse job? Probably. But that's not what we're asking. So, just looking at Iran in particular, there's nothing too specific. It's just the general, he has this administrative reform where local Muslims can be in the administration a bit. So I guess that's a little bit nice if you're living in Iran and not Arab. That could work. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Then, yeah, border-wise, we have Roman pirates now. We have the Turks. Yeah, they've sort of melted away, but the area is still very volatile. We've lost Morocco and significant parts of Algeria. Al-Andalus is basically floating a bit on its own. Like, it's barely held together by us. Like, they're mostly doing their own thing. So that's not ideal. And then, yes, he does try some reforms. He does try to improve things, but he's not radical enough to make them stick. Like, he has this new government policy. He allows local soldiers to be used in certain emergency conditions, but that's not the standard. And in general, he has sort of damaged the legitimacy of the Umayyads by killing a descendant of the Prophet and just having these constant rebellions that he can't firmly put down all at a time. So, I don't know. I don't think I can give him a 5 because that would be if he just kept the boat steady. I'm between a 3 and a 4, which is kind of funny because Yazid II got a 3. But it would be a very different 3, to be fair, because one tried and one didn't. But basically, how much do you want to give him for effort? To say that, well, you know what, it may not have worked fully, but the Empire is still there, and it'll be his heirs to contend with.
I think comparing it to the previous one, then I would go for a 4.
You'd go for a 4, even if the Empire is doing so poorly.
But he tried more, and he did better.
But did he do better? Because, I mean, Yazid was basically just a blip for the caliphate. Like, he didn't do anything better. He just reversed some policies.
Yeah, no, in
of
a
Umar,
4,
so yes, it was a bit worse.
A 4 does feel like too much. So.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna have to go for a 3, despite the insult that it is to put him as the same as Yazid II. But yeah, sticking with a 3 as well.
Yeah.
So with a 3 and a 3, we get a 6 out of 20 for Aaron Shine. Our next category is Face of Faces. What do you think this man looked like? And unfortunately, we do not have a description of Hisham. We just know that he died of stress in his 50s and came to the throne. As a younger man, he was all right, and he tried his best.
Indeed.
Okay, so Sarah has finished their drawing. Let me pick it up and I'll describe it to you all. Ooh, nice. Yes. Yes, I can feel the energy from this one.
Good. I'm glad it worked out.
Because, yeah, what we have here is a man in... He has a beard and mustache. And it's all looking a little bit scraggly as he just has his nice turban on his head. But you can just see him looking down to the right, being very depressed and stressed with all the work that's going on. You can see lines around his eyes as he has just had a lot on his plate. He really needs to find a different job, and now he knows that this weird party child is going to be the heir, and it's just sigh. So, yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for the lovely drawing.
You're welcome.
If any of you would like to see this, you can go to the episode notes in the description, on our Discord, or on our website in Serial's Portrait Gallery. Now, Serial, can you guess if he has an image?
No, he doesn't.
No, he does not.
Of course.
Yes, this is the period where there are no images. I think I'm pretty sure we have one in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes.
Okay. Good to know.
But for now, no, nothing. So,
right.
yeah. Sorry, Hisham, with a 0 and a 0, you get a 0 out of 5 for Face of Faces. Our next category is lengthiness. For how long do you think this man reigned?
I'm gonna be optimistic. No, I'm not. 5 years.
No. He held it together for much longer.
Okay, I was gonna say 10, but I was
19,
like, what?
19 years.
What? Because I was like, okay, I was thinking, okay, he must have been like in his 20s, maybe late 20s when he came to power, and then he lived up to 52. So like my math was right, but I was like, there's no way. There's no way that he did 20 years of this.
Yes.
Wow, very impressive.
This is why he died of a heart attack.
Yes.
It was like, listen, it's been 20 years. Everything's been constantly on fire.
Yep.
Please, I need to rest. Yeah, so from 724 to 743, that's 19 years divided by 10 is 1.9 out of 5 for lengthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to the final score, which is a grand total of 25.9 out of 100, making him the second worst of this season, just after Yazid II, and just shortly behind Abdullah ibn al-Zubayr, who also failed miserably but tried.
Yeah, I guess that's what we have.
So, it is sad. This doesn't represent the effort that he put in,
No.
It's mostly just the results. But well, on that topic, we now need to ask, is he trying enough? Is he stressed enough? Is he hoping for a better future enough to be a Shahanshah, or is he a Shahanna?
I don't think so. I think I would mention it as like, oh yeah, he was the one who was trying to keep it all together in the midst of,
Yeah.
But
I don't know, I feel bad not giving it to him, because the man tried his best. But also, it's just a bit...
I mean, it's not that remarkable, I guess. In the sense of, in the big scheme of things. Like, if I have to choose someone to tell.
I feel like there are other people that we covered who are just like, taking the empire from the brink and fixing
like that,
is really impressive. But it's like, keeping it as is a bit meh. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Hisham. You are a Shahanna. You can head off into the desert, meet Yazid II, and tell him that he was a waste of space, and that honestly he should have just skipped the succession and just kept Umar's policies, because that would have been a lot better for everyone.
And like, not to take away the complexity of what he did, like, of course it is impressive, but like, we are judging all of history. So
yeah, exactly, there's enough stuff in the middle. So there we go. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed listening to Hisham's episode, and we hope you'll join us next time for Al-Walid II, who, in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking should get a Shahanshah.
Whoa.
We will see if Sarah agrees.
I'm excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, it was great. It was one of those researches where I was like, oh, the Wikipedia page is like a paragraph, and then it's just because nobody bothered to write it, and it's just like I found a full book on him. I was like, oh, this is amazing, I love this guy.
Then you're gonna have to write the Wikipedia page yourself.
You need to be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah,
indeed.
But yeah, in the meantime, if you'd like to support us, there are many ways to do that. You can join our Patreon, where we've recently finished an episode on Wu Zetian, the only woman to ever rule China.
That was so badass.
She was very cool.
Unbelievable.
It was great.
Really worth listening
So,
to. I mean, all of our episodes are worth listening to, excuse me. But also, this one, really good.
Yes, this was especially good. And we're going to continue with our Tang highlights with Emperor Xuanzong. And then, by the time this comes out, we're going to be voting for what the next miniseries is going to be. And just to give you what it is, it's going to be this broad strokes of the Amazigh people. So resistance against the caliphate, collaboration with the caliphate, and then rebellion against the caliphate. There's going to be Sassanids of the Shahnameh, and then also a bunch of scholars of Khosrow I, which are just quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get to choose. If you join our Patreon, you can subscribe and help decide what we're going to do next.
Indeed.
If instead you'd rather not support us monetarily, that's fine, but we'd appreciate if you could give us a review on your podcast app of choice. So yeah, that is all that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a lovely week, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.